right, guys, so we got to talk about some Kanye West news. And there's a whole lot of it to discuss. However, I'm not going to get into too much details about some of the Kanye news. Mainly that Kanye is buying Parler. Or he plans to buy Parler. Now, this is interesting because Parler is owned by Candace Owens' husband. He's the CEO of the platform, right? Which could explain why Kanye and Candace have been hanging out so much. Now, this comes after Ye got canceled by his bank and by Twitter, social media, Instagram, for making comments about Jewish people that really upset a lot of people, right? Those comments and the comments about, White Lives Matter. He also made comments about George Floyd and how he died that the George Floyd family doesn't like, and they're trying to sue him for these comments. Again, good luck suing somebody for defamation over a dead person, but hey, this is the world we live in, right? Free speech is under attack from every angle. He's made a whole bunch of comments that is getting a whole lot of backlash. Now, Ye did another interview with Drink Champs, which is a podcast that I don't listen to, but I've actually done a reaction video to Kanye being on that podcast before, in which he said things during that podcast that I agree with. So I've actually seen him on the podcast. Now, they released another podcast in which Kanye is saying more things about Jewish people and explaining his positions, the White Lives Matter thing. He's just said a whole bunch of stuff that he's been getting backlash for. And they posted a podcast. Obviously, the podcast is very popular. It's getting a lot of views. I haven't even had a chance to check it out yet. And then all of a sudden, it is deleted, right? The podcast is deleted. So when it first got deleted, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, it must be the comments that Kanye made about Jewish people again. Big tech must be cracking down, right? Maybe, YouTube gave him a strike, or they took down the podcast in fear of potentially getting a strike from YouTube. However, it's actually worse than that. As the reason why they took down the podcast, according to N.O.R.E, who hosts the podcast, they took down the podcast after backlash from the woke mob. And I want you to see this interview that N.O.R.E does with Hot 97, in which he explains why they took down the podcast episode. And it is extremely, extremely, extremely sad how once again these people are bending to the mob. Take a look.
Started from there. Now with Ye, I have a relationship with Ye. When he was going through a lot of things that he was going through, he would call me and he would actually listen to me and take my advice. So I felt I could control the situation. I felt that I could control the interview. And I've learned early on that I didn't. As a black man, I feel like I failed. As a human, I feel like I failed. But as a journalist, I succeeded, because as a journalist, you're not really supposed to have an opinion. You're supposed to let people talk. And my biggest critique on Drink Champs is, N.O.R.E, you always cut people off. And this is the one time I didn't cut the people. Didn't cut them off. Says, and no one should have cut them off. Everyone's mad. Like, so I should just stick to what the script is and cut everyone off. But I sincerely apologize to anybody that was hurt by Kanye's words, by Kanye's actions, because I didn't really realize that sometimes you're so much into the interview, you're not even in the interview. You understand what I'm saying? And so for the first 5 minutes, Kanye had walked in and he said he had people filming. And he told to my producer, he said, if you tell my people to stop filming, that he would walk out. So that the rhetoric of George Floyd, when you hear him speak about George Floyd, that's in the first 5 to 8 minutes of the actual interview. I actually check him and I say, you shouldn't say that. I actually check him about the Jewish community. I actually check him about the black community, but you don't see that till 2 hours in the interview. So what you're seeing right now, what we're getting backlash for, is for the first 5 minutes of the interview. And you guys understand that when you're trying to have a long interview or in-depth interview,
you got to pace yourself.
You got to pace yourself. So, but if the people are mad at me, the people are saying that was irresponsible of N.O.R.E, you know what? I'm gonna say yes, y'all right. You know what I mean? Like I should have checked him right then and there. As soon as he said it,
N.O.R.E
I was too drunk.
He's too
I
drunk.
was too drunk. I was too like. By the way, we're called drink champs, guys. We're not political champs. You know what I'm saying? We're called drink champs. We're here to get these people inebriated. We're here to have, because that's when you get these stories that you guys love so much. Is when I get them drunk. So unfortunately, sometimes I get drunk with them. It's just he stood with that ideology. He stood with. And by the way, I love Kanye West. I really think that we shouldn't give up on Kanye West. I really think that
it's getting tough.
We should talk. Yeah. I know this. I really think, because right now, to me, I just got the phone with Talib Kweli, and I said, Talib, I think you should reach out to him. I think he needs a Mos Def conversation. I think he needs a Dave Chappelle conversation, because he's not having these. So when he's having them, he's so much in dominance of this. And like I said, let me not railroad. I'm here to say I apologize to anybody who felt like I let them down, because I did feel like I did let them down to a certain extent, because like I said, I did check him later, but by the time I checked him, it was already kind of like too late. So I can't be mad at Baller Alert for, posting the footage that I don't want them to post, because I'm not mad at them when they post the footage that I do want them to post. So yeah, I do feel let down. I do feel like I didn't do the right job, but this is a learning experience. I did not go to school for journalism, but that's not an excuse. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a special ed student. It's not an excuse. I should have checked him as soon as he said it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so that's sad, right? It is really sad to see a grown man with two blunts in his ears, in both ears, which is an extremely corny thing to do, right? But a grown man apologizing for the words of another man and taking down his podcast, not because he thought that Big Tech was going to give him a strike, but because the woke mob backlash against the podcast and him platforming Kanye. Now, it sounds like, to me, that most of the backlash came from Kanye West's comments about George Floyd, in which Kanye came out and said, in response to the BLM documentary from Candace Owens, that George Floyd actually died of a fentanyl overdose and not from Derek Chauvin's knee being on his neck. Which, again, hey, that's a theory that has been put out there by a lot of people, right? What Kanye is saying is not anything new. It's not something that we have not heard before. But again, thinking about the target audience of drink champs, I can totally see why that could be what the breaking point was, right? Kanye making those comments about George Floyd. Again, initially I thought it was the whole Jewish thing, and that could be a part of it as well too, right? I think this guy N.O.R.E said that he checked Kanye on all those things, on black people, on the Jewish stuff, on George Floyd. So again, he's saying that, well, I tried to check Kanye on wrong thing, right? He thinking the wrong way. Therefore, I tried to check him on that. But obviously, the mob wasn't satisfied with his attempts to check Kanye. But here's my opinion on all this, right? This is the point of this video. Every time this happens, it always backfires. And what I'm talking about is this attempt to cancel people for saying controversial things. If the person is big enough, right? They tried to cancel Alex Jones. He was too big, right? He's too big to be canceled. Alex Jones is good enough and talented enough where he will take a whole bunch of people, millions of people, to his corner of the internet, right? Where other people don't go. Andrew Tate was big enough that he will take hundreds of thousands, if not millions of young men to his corner of the internet. Kanye is just as big, if not bigger, than both of those two. So do you think that you're actually successfully going to cancel Kanye? And see, that's the thing, is when you go out of your way to start canceling Kanye, which is what's happening, right? LeBron James, his podcast, decided, hey, you know what? We're not going to release our episode with Kanye because of some controversial statements he made. He allegedly got canceled by his bank, right? You see all this backlash against Kanye. And it's like, okay, well, the more you cancel him, the more you are actually giving credibility to the things that he's saying, right? That's what you're doing. The best way to handle somebody like Kanye or Andrew Tate or Alex Jones is just to ignore him, right? If you truly disagree with the things they're saying, if you ignore them, that is the best way to stop what they're saying from getting bigger, from their message from spreading, from it looking like there is credibility to the things they're saying. In Kanye's case, again, this cancellation is definitely making the things that he's saying look more credible, right? Which again is why this cancel culture stuff does not work. It's silly. It's a very silly thing to do. You can't cancel a man that's worth billions of dollars like Kanye. You cannot cancel him. The only thing you're going to do is make people like him and agree with him even more. That's exactly what happened to Andrew Tate. After Andrew Tate got canceled, I mean, if you look at the comment section of that Piers Morgan interview, a lot of people I didn't like Andrew Tate at first, but now that he got canceled and everybody's talking about him being canceled, I actually went and listened to the things that he had to say. And the things he said are not that bad, right? I don't actually think the guy is that bad after actually doing my research and listening to what he has to say. So again, what happened is that Andrew Tate probably got even more fans. He probably got even more popular from the cancellation. He became more credible than he was before he got canceled, which is the exact opposite effect that is intended when you cancel people, when you deplatform them. And that's exactly what's about to happen with this Kanye situation. All the people that are boohoo, crying, and complaining about the things that Kanye says, which you don't have to agree with. It's totally fine if you don't agree with it, right? They are actually just contributing to Kanye's message and the things he's saying spreading. Because what's going to happen is that now people are going to find the podcast. They're going to now repost it, right, on YouTube or Rumble, all over the internet, and even more people are going to watch it because the fact that you deleted the podcast is going to be bigger news than the podcast itself. There's a difference between defending somebody's free speech and agreeing with the things they say. You can disagree with the things that Kanye says. You can say what he says is wrong. You can call it anti-Semitic. You can say it's racist. You can say whatever you want about it, right? But it's still important for us to realize that people have freedom of speech, right? And we should protect somebody's freedom of speech to express their ideas, even if you disagree with it. And defending somebody's freedom of speech is not the same thing as defending them as a person and the things that they say. I had this conversation with a friend about Alex Jones the other day, right? In which she expressed discomfort with the fact that it seemed like a lot of people in the conservative space were celebrating Alex Jones. And this, of course, is in response to the Alex Jones trial, the Sandy Hook trial, in which Alex Jones was ordered to pay almost $1 billion to the families of the Sandy Hook victims after being found guilty of defamation. So I asked her when she said that, I said, well, one, do you believe that Alex Jones defamed those families? And she said, no, I don't believe that he actually defamed them, but what he said was wrong. And I think that he deserves punishment for the things that he said, and that conservatives shouldn't be out here celebrating Alex Jones. And I said, look, there's a difference between celebrating somebody as a person and things they say and defending their right to free speech. Because I'm not seeing many conservatives celebrating the things that Alex Jones says, in the sense that they're not out here saying that, you know, they agree with what Alex Jones said. Some people might, but I'm just saying, I think most people don't. However, what I do see, people that are talking about it are on Alex Jones' side. They're not on his side in the sense where they agree with the things he's saying. They're on his side in the sense that they're like, look, I might not agree with what he says, but I'm going to defend his right to free speech. I don't think he actually defamed those families. That is what they're saying. Those are two different things. It's the same thing with this Kanye stuff. You don't have to agree with him, right? You can totally disagree with what he's saying. However, if we're going to be for free speech, right, we have to defend people's abilities to speak freely without getting censored or canceled by the mob, which is exactly what is happening to Kanye West, right? And again, it's just a shame and it's sad to see this grown man capitulating to the mob and then going on an interview, right, a podcast or whatever, radio show, and boohoo crying and groveling and apologizing for something that another man said, right? Again, it's one thing if Big Tech decided to give him a strike and to take it down. That's one thing. I mean, that's what happened to the N.O.R.E boys when they had an interview with Trump, right? Trump made some claims that Big Tech didn't like, and then they took down the video, right? That's one thing, right? But it's another thing for you to take it down yourself and take it down on your website as well too, and don't post on any other platforms and say, well, I took the video down because I'm scared of the mob. I'm afraid of the woke revolutionaries. Again, it's sad, man. It really is, and it just goes to show how freedom of speech is under attack in this country. I understand that people might not agree with everything the man says, but at the same time, being able to speak is important. And not just being able to speak, but to speak and be heard is important. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.